Gate, Daily Racing Form's weekend handicapping preview program. I'm Dan Illman. Thanks so much for watching. Here's what's coming up in this week's edition of Out of the Gate. DRF Handicappers Harvey Wallbanger, Matt Bernier, and I will take a look at the Kentucky Derby Point Prep race at Tampa Bay, the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis Stakes. We'll also look at a Kentucky Oaks Point preview race, the Grade 2 Las Virgenes at Santa Anita, as well as one of the better betting races of the entire weekend, the Grade 2 San Marcos Stakes at the Great Race Place. That race, of course, on the turf. Craig Milkowski's Timeform U.S. Pace Projector focuses on the Tampa Bay Stakes for turf horses, and David Aragona, also of Timeform U.S., spotlights the Jimmy Winkfield at Aqueduct, plus best bets, horses to watch, and lots more. So let's break Out of the Gate. We begin Out of the Gate with our Horse Watch segment. Mike, you picked Harvey Wallbanger last week, so I got to let you go first. Tell me a little bit about Two Graces.
This is a New York bred who debuted on Sunday at Aqueduct. I thought the pickings were a little slim at Aqueduct this week. Only 3 race cards to choose from. Let's look at Two Graces, though. First thing to point out about this race, this was last Sunday, strongest rail we've had at Aqueduct in a long time. So you wanted to be on the inside. That's where she is. She's just a filly in her debut here who just didn't have any speed at all. She got outrun by what was a pretty quick pace. And you'll see that she won't do too much here. She'll stay down towards the inside. He'll take her off the rail right about now. And she'll run at the end of this race. I just wanted to show it from here. She's not really going to make any kind of impact at all, but she will make up some ground here through the final furlong. And then after the wire, she keeps going and she goes right by this field at the end. I think that's pretty notable because this is a filly who's by Lemon Drop Kid. On the dam side, she's a sister to 3 stakes-winning dirt routers. The whole family wanted to go long. I think this filly, Two Graces, wants to go long too, and I think that they were probably just prepping her in this race. She's just galloping out past the field at the end. I think next time you'll see her go a little bit longer, and she might be better than she looks on paper.
Promising performance, low-profile connections. This horse might be a price next time out. Matt, Chad Brown unveiled La Feve for her North American debut last week at Gulfstream Park. She just happened to catch a filly that's a bit special.
I was going to say, yeah, no pun intended, a bit special. She looks like a good one, and she's always going to get the jump on a horse like La Feve, but I have to be honest, the way that she ran, considering it was her first start here in the United States, first start off of a long layoff, I think this could be a good sort of starting off point. Let's throw up the replay right now. You're going to see her rolling on the far outside, and there's just too much for her to do, and Dan, you brought it up, a bit special. She has tactical speed, but she has a potent late kick. I love the way, though, that La Feve finishes here. Consider this was her first start since the beginning of September. And this is her first start here in the United States. I know Chad usually has him, for the most part, ready to go. I have to be honest, I think this is going to be a filly that'll appreciate a little bit more additional ground when it's all said and done. This race was at a mile. I think you've got bigger and better things still to come from this filly.
I found a 4-year-old that I believe is on the cusp of being a graded stakes horse for trainer Steve Asmussen down at Oaklawn. His name is Share the Upside. He made his 4-year-old debut on January the 27th in a 2X optional claimer, and he destroyed the field, traveling 6 furlongs. We see him outside. He worked out a 3-wide trip throughout. He takes over the lead, and he puts the boots to this field. He wins by 5. He earns a 99 Buyer's speed figure, and I believe a race like the Count Fleet Sprint later at the Oaklawn meet would suit this horse very well. He's a son of McLean's Music. He started his career with a win at Oaklawn last year, and then he kind of just went into a bit of a funk, losing races at Indiana Grand at short prices, and it looked like that this was a horse that was going to be more wasted potential than anything else. But in his last 3 starts, he's put it all together. Buyers of 92, 95, 99, 2 straight blow-away wins in the Asmussen barn with good tactical speed. Keep an eye on Share the Upside. Lightly raced 4-year-old. I think he is a stakes horse in waiting. Let's get to some handicapping. The DRF Bet Saturday race of the day, an important Kentucky Derby point race, the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis. Let's take a look at the field for Saturday's DRF Bets race of the day. It's the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis Stakes, a Kentucky Derby points race. Race number 11 at Tampa Bay Downs on Saturday. You can access free Formulator past performances on the Race of the Day event page at DRF.com. And for expanded stakes previews of all of the graded races all weekend long and lots more, visit video.drf.com. Mike, the most accomplished horse in this race is Nick's Go, winner of the Breeders' Futurity, a Grade 1 last fall at Keeneland, excellent runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. The issue is he was gigantic prices in both of those races. And he looks like he's going to be the chalk on Saturday.
Yeah, probably have to take a short price on him this time. He did run once after that Breeders' Cup in the Kentucky Jockey Club. Sloppy track, couldn't make the lead. He was a short price that day and was nowhere at the finish. He's going to try and rebound into Sam Davis. We'll see what happens over fast dirt. Let's look at that Breeders' Cup right now because, as you mentioned, Dan, he was 70-1 when he won that Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity last year, right on the front end. He wasn't 70-1 in this race, but this would have been a much bigger upset if he was able to hold on here. He actually runs a very, very good race here, and he will be run down by game winner at the end, but this is a nice performance. And if he could run something like this on Saturday, I guess he's tough. You know, I don't know how much I want him as the favorite in this race. There's other speed for him to deal with in this spot coming up. But I guess he is the horse to beat.
He's a very gritty little horse, but you're right, there is speed directly to his inside that he's going to have to chase. And if this pace is fast, it might set things up for a closer at a price. Matt, there are some beautiful pedigrees in this race. Your top selection might have the best of them all.
Yeah, Still Dreaming. It's an interesting one. He's by Flatter, but his older half brother is Nyquist, who we know he went on to win the Kentucky Derby eventually. I'm sure the connections are hopeful. This horse can go on and do the same thing. Let's take a look at his most recent run. This was his maiden score at Laurel. And you see at this point, he's already taken over. He's under a hard drive, but I like the way that he finishes here. He really levels off nicely. And he extends, he opens up and wins ultimately by 3 lengths. Admittedly, didn't beat a heck of a lot in this field. And Dan, you know, you and I talked about it with the Race of the Day preview. I have to admit, I don't love any of the horses in this race. I just wanted to have a horse that I think there's some upside. Clearly, the pedigree is there. The connections are there. Graham Motion's the trainer. He's 15-1 on the line. Maybe you don't get that, but I do think you get double digits.
Mike, another horse with big pedigree appeal is the Kentucky Wildcat, the number 6 going out for Tom Albertrani. I mean, the damn Better Lucky was a multiple Grade 1 stakes winner on turf, but she was versatile enough to be second in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint on the main track.
Yeah, Better Lucky did turn out to be more of a turf horse, but there's plenty of dirt in this pedigree too, and this one's by Tappet, of course. I just like the progression this horse has made. They've stretched him out for his last 2 races. He's run well both times. We will take a look at his maiden win at Aqueduct back in December, and he runs really well in this race. He showed more speed this time. He kept closer to the pace. He took it over as they came into the stretch, and he's going to hold off a pretty good horse here. The horse that he's holding off, Country House, he was a huge price in this race, but he ran well here, and he came back and he won very impressively at Gulfstream the other day after totally blowing the start. So he actually beat a good horse here. And I just like this effort from him. I think the figure puts him right in the mix if he can take one more small step forward. And I guess the thing I like most about him, Dan, I don't know if you agree with this or not, is there's so much speed in this race. He doesn't need the lead. I think he can fall into a really good trip here, assuming he can handle the 2 turns.
You said it all, and I agree with your top selection. Kentucky Wildcat is my pick as well. Not only did that runner-up come back to win, there were 2 other next out winners in that field. He was 5 wide early. I liked the way he got himself into position on the turn. And then when that horse came to him in the stretch, it looked like he was extending it again. Tommy Albertrani has had very good success, mostly with turf horses over the years at Tampa Bay Downs. But I think Kentucky Wildcat's going to get the setup. I believe he's 9-2 on the morning line, and I think that's fair with Joe Bravo aboard. We're going to go to Nicole Russo's pedigree pick segment. And following that one, we have Craig Milkowski from Timeform US. He projects the pace of one of the races on the Sam F. Davis undercard, the Tampa Bay Stakes, featuring the speedy and popular Heart to Heart.
Hey everyone, Nicole Russo coming to you for Out of the Gate. The lone Kentucky Derby points race this weekend is the Sam F. Davis at Tampa Bay, the local prep for the Tampa Bay Derby. Grade 1 winner and Breeders' Cup Juvenile runner-up Nick's Go likely to be favored here. But there are a couple of really well-bred horses stepping up to stakes company for the first time, including Kentucky Wildcat, a Tappet colt out of Grade 1 winner Better Lucky, whose full sister actually produced the UAE 2000 Guineas winner on Thursday. It's a very active family. But the horse I'm going to zero in on here is a horse I've been waiting to see step up in distance and class, So Alive. He's won 2 of his 3 outings to date, including a decent allowance optional score at Tampa last out. Now, So Alive is by Super Saver, one of 2 Kentucky Derby winners by the late Maria's Mon. So obviously a sire line with some route capability, even though Super Saver today is best known as the sire of champion sprinter Run Happy. He's also so far sired Alabama winner Embellish the Lace, Oaklawn Handicap winner Inside Straight, and Grade 1 winner Competitive Edge, a graded winner at a mile. His progeny have an average winning distance of just over 7 furlongs. Now, So Alive does get some added stamina from his female line. He's out of the street crime mare Mythical Bride, who posted her only win at a mile, and both her runners have won at that distance or longer, led by Vino Rosso, who took last year's Wood Memorial and placed in a couple of other graded stakes. Now, Mythical Bride's pedigree, a very interesting blend of stamina and speed. She's a half to both commissioner, a multiple graded winner who was second in the Belmont Stakes, and another multiple graded winner in Laugh Track who was second in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some horses like So Alive and Kentucky Wildcat stepping up against Nick's Go, who's a very game horse on Saturday. The Sam F. Davis is one of 4 stakes on Saturday at Tampa Bay, and we're giving you a closer look at that card and all of the weekend's action right here on Out of the Gate.
Hi, this is Craig Mulkowski of Timeform US for this week's edition of Out of the Gate. Today in our Pace Projector segment, I'm going to take a look at the Tampa Bay Stakes, a Grade 3 mile and a 16th turf race being run on the Sam Davis card at Tampa on Saturday. It's for older males, and it drew a very good field. We got 2 Grade 1 winners in here, in Devisadero and also Heart to Heart, and just a solid group of campaigners. The reason this race stuck out to me is just a real lack of early speed in the race. And for that reason, no surprises here. I'm going to lean towards number 7, Heart to Heart. You can see in the upper right-hand corner of the preview page, our pace projector, the blue indicates that we think the race is going to favor horses on or near the early lead. And I think that's really fitting in the case of a horse like Heart to Heart. Take a quick look at the pace projector. You can click on it at any time and zoom in and see all the horses. There's a few in here that were off the screen because they just aren't anywhere near him early. And you can see his lead is just expected to be substantial. Now let's take a closer look at Heart to Heart. And the reason I like him, I made a few notes on here. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing earth-shattering here. He is a 9-5 morning line favorite. But I do think there are times that favorites can be overlays, and I think this is going to be one of them. I think he should be an odds-on proposition. But with some other horses in here, I'm hoping we can get 3-2, 8-5, and I'd be more than happy to take those. You can notice on his last few starts don't look all that great, but they're also highlighted by just a lot of red fractions. Even the one time in his last 4 races where he was able to get the lead, the pace was blazing. It was in the Grade 1 Shadwell at Keeneland. He still ran respectable speed figures, but I think he's going to be a lot better. I've highlighted his lifetime record where you'll see he's 15 out of 39, which is just really good for any horse. He's an 8-year-old. He's raced pretty sparingly for an 8-year-old, but they made the most out of it. But the note I've made over to the right there is that when he makes a lead at the first call, all 15 of his wins have come in that fashion. He's never won when he doesn't make the lead. And not only have all his wins come in that fashion, it's a very high percentage. He's 15 out of 23, where he's 0 for 16 anytime he does not make the lead. I think this is a case where not only is he going to make the lead, he's not going to be very challenged very much. The pace is going to be slow, and I think he's just a complete standout in this field. Other than the win bet, a couple horses I'd be interested in the exacta underneath of him. I'm throwing out the second choice. We didn't have morning line on our preview page when I made the graphic, but it is out now. It's Kurban, I think is how you say it, the 4-horse. Not a big fan of his. He doesn't have a lot of speed. His best races have come in races with hot paces. So my top pick for second in here is going to be Inspector Lindley. He's just been a really solid horse. He came off a long layoff. You can see the red line at the bottom of his image here. And he's just reeled off nothing but mid-120s, even popped a 130 one time. And what I like is that he has shown the ability to be able to close into a slow pace. And I think that's what he's going to get here. I think he's going to run well, and he should offer some value in the exactas. The other one I'll use, though I don't like quite as much as Inspector Lindley, he's going to probably be a little bit lower odds. He's a morning line third choice, is Devisadero. He's a Grade 1 winner. He ran a great race in the Breeders' Cup Mile 2 starts back. He was beaten less than a length for all the money at a huge price. He kind of disappointed a little. He did disappoint a little last time out at 6-1. Didn't run, was never really much of a factor, and hung through the stretch. But I think he'll appreciate the shorter distance. He has a little more tactical speed than some of the others, so he'll be the other one I use in the exactas. So once again, I'll be going heart to heart, hopefully to win if I can get 3-2 or better, and I'll be playing in them exactas over Inspector Lindley and Devisadero. That's it for Timeform US Pace Projector segment, and I'll see you next week.
Are you a horse player looking to raise your game? For over 120 years, expert handicappers have relied on Daily Racing Form as their must-have source for news and data, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures, Timeform US pace figures, and integrated replays. DRF Formulator is the most powerful handicapping tool on the market today. Use what the pros use. Go to drf.com/formulator and enter code DRFTV to get your first card free. drf.com. Raise your game.
Welcome back to Out of the Gate. Let's throw up the field for the Kentucky Oaks Points race that we'll be covering this week on Out of the Gate. It's the Grade 2 Las Virginas Stakes, race number 5 at Santa Anita on Saturday. It's one of 3 graded races at Santa Anita, and you can catch all of the expanded stakes previews for all of the graded races all across the country on video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. The Las Virginas is a 2-turn mile, $200,000 is the purse, and Matt, there is a deserving heavy favorite, the multiple Grade 1 stakes winner, Bellafina.
Yeah, I mean, look, from a figure standpoint, she just kind of lays over this field. No disrespect to the other girls in here, but if Bellafina shows up with her best effort, simply put, I think it's just better than everyone else's. We can throw up the replay of her most recent run. Look, at the end of the day, she goes out there, she blitzes this field. This was at 7/8 of a mile off of a layoff. The 2 turns, Dan, you made mention, not a problem. If she runs this race back, she's winning again.
Mike, Bellafina, so impressive, just drawing away from this field with ease. And really the only hiccup came in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies, and supposedly she was in season that day.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens here. I mean, I do think there's a way to look at her and just think she's probably better sprinting. Her 2 best figures come sprinting, including that one we just saw there with the 95 where she just crushed that field. I'm not sure how much I love her going forward as the distances stretch out, but I just couldn't find anybody else to play against her with in this race. I just think she's better than these horses, and I think she'll get through this, and then we'll see what happens down the line.
I won't argue. She is the most likely winner in this race, but I do agree with Mike that I think eventually she's going to prove best at slightly shorter distances than races like the Kentucky Oaks. Good news for her on Saturday is she only has to run a mile, but I think Mother, the number 4, adding blinkers for Bob Baffert, might try to keep Bellafina company on the lead. And if that's the case, the 2 Anaya Al Rab has a chance to upset at a little bit of a price. Anaya Al Rab really improved in her final start as a 2-year-old. That was in the Grade 1 Starlet Stakes at Los Alamitos. We swing into that long stretch, and this filly was moving very comfortably on the outside after tracking 3 wide throughout. She's going to be very game at a gigantic price to just miss by a head, finishing ahead of the rail-skimming Mother, while no match for American Pharaoh's little sister chasing yesterday. But I like the fight that she showed in her first start out of the maiden ranks. This filly is supposed to get better as the distances increase. She's a half to Hatash, who's a multiple graded stakes placed runner at a mile and 3/16. She's by Uncle Mo. Maybe this isn't the spot, but I am hoping that Mother and Bellafina get hooked up at some point. I think Anaya Al Rab's going to run okay in here, and I'll take the smallest of stabs against the horse to beat Bellafina, who I would use as my only A in any kind of multiple race wagers. Bellafina is going to be a big favorite in the Las Virginas. Perhaps a better betting race is also at Santa Anita on Saturday. Let's take a peek at the San Marcos. Let's throw up the field for the Grade 2 San Marcos Stakes at Santa Anita on Saturday. Carded as race number 9. We're going 1.25 miles on the turf for $200,000. For expanded stakes previews of all the graded races all weekend long, plus lots more video content, visit video.drf.com or the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel. We've got a big and bulky field of 13, Mike Beer. We know a lot of these horses. They're solid. They are not superstars. You want a stranger.
Yeah, I just thought I wanted a new face. I went through this race a couple of times, and it just felt like, as I got through it from top to bottom, felt like I was handicapping the same horse over and over again. Got a headache, stopped, went back, and just figured, you know what? I'm just going to take the new face in here. Let's put up Sejo's replay. This colt, a 4-year-old, shipping in from France. Interesting to note that in his first 4 races, he didn't really run that well. His last 2 starts, which are both wins and both in big fields, are the 2 races that he caught firm ground. I think the firm ground really helped this horse, and I like the way he finished both times. He's going to run this field down late here. This is a pretty impressive win. He's going to get Lasix for the first time. Look, you have to deal with a layoff for a horse who's going long, but I just think if he can bring his good form over, this is the right kind of field to take a shot with a horse like this, especially at a price.
And I think with horses like India Mantuana and Dabster and Epical in this race, there may be more speed than is expected. When we did the expanded stakes preview, Matt, the Timeform US pace projector did not have this race with a red bar. I think the pace of this race could be fair to fast, and that could work to your horse's advantage, a horse that really wants this distance.
Yeah, Beachview is just the kind of horse that, I can understand folks that look at it and say his best races have come going long on dirt. How is he really going to translate over here? I would make the argument you're supposed to draw a line through his most recent start in the San Antonio. That's going 1 mile and a 16th on dirt. 2 starts back, the Hollywood Turf Cup. I maintain if you reverse the trips with he and Chicago Style, it's a different result. Let's throw up the tape now. You're going to see Chicago Style on the far outside in the clear, while Beachview is in those green silks that we just saw, buried in behind horses, absolutely nowhere to go. Chicago Style's in full flight now. He's got a major jump on this horse. And at the end of the day, once Beachview does get through down on the rail, he only loses by 1.5 lengths. Again, maybe I'm being a little bit overzealous, but at the same time, I look at it and say, if you flip the script, I think you get a different result. I think Beachview is right there, and I think he should be probably somewhere 2 or 3 times the price of Chicago Style.
I think that's a very fair point, to be sure. I'm not sure if my top selection, the #1 Unapologetic, class is up. Heck, he's been entered for the tag in his last 2 races, but this is a horse that likes long-distance racing on the turf. He's going to get some pace, and I'm hoping for the similar trip and ride that Giovanni Franco gave him last time out at Del Mar on November 22nd. He made all the right moves in that race. We turn into the stretch, and Franco was able to always have this horse in a good spot. The hole is opened up, and he's going to shoot on through. He did get a good pace to run at against inferior competition, but I like the way Unapologetic ran these horses down in the late stages. I'm hoping for a big pace. As Mike and Matt mentioned, we've seen several of the familiar faces in this race. We're not thrilled with any of them. There are a couple of dirt horses trying turf for the first time. We're not sure if those horses want the surface. We're having a lot of horses off of long layoffs. Maybe they won't be ready. I want a price. I think Unapologetic's in good form, and if you throw out that one bad race, the Del Mar handicap on turf and the Cougar handicap on dirt, you're dotted with consistently good performances. That's Unapologetic at a price in the San Marcos Stakes. David Aragona from Timeform US is going to spotlight the Jimmy Wingfield Stakes at Aqueduct in his Spotlight segment, and then we'll come back for Best Bets.
Hi everyone, I'm David Aragona for this week's Timeform US Spotlight. We've got some more 3-year-olds in action this weekend. The main attraction is the Sam F. Davis at Tampa Bay Downs. You can find my analysis of that race on DRF.com. I'll be writing up a horse-by-horse analysis of every entrant in that race for Timeform US. But I want to take a look at another 3-year-old stakes race that's happening on Saturday at Aqueduct. It's the Jimmy Wingfield Stakes, going 7 furlongs, and while we might not have any true Derby contenders coming out of this race, it's drawn an interesting field of 7 horses, and the 2 that are likely to take the most money are both coming off maiden wins. They're drawn towards the center of the field. They're High Call and Tikvin Flu. I made High Call the slight 9-5 favorite on the morning line. He's a really exciting horse to watch. He's a deep closer who was visually impressive when he broke his maiden, but I think with a horse like this, we have to take a look at the Timeform US pace projector to see if he's going to get the right setup ahead of him. Now, while the pace projector is not predicting a fast or slow pace, it is illustrating that there are no real confirmed frontrunners in this race. Tikvin Flu, the number 4 horse, and the number 7 Gates of Dawn are the 2 that are predicted to be towards the front. Neither one is a real need the lead type. I think they both have enough speed to secure the lead if they really want it, and Tikvin Flu drawing inside of that horse, I imagine that Matty Frank will be aggressive with him and try to take the early lead, but I'm not sure how fast they're going to be moving in this race, especially considering that they're all going 7 furlongs and they're going to want to save something for the stretch. So I don't think it's quite clear that High Call is going to get the fast pace that he really desires. Taking a look at High Call's past performances, it's worth watching both of his first 2 runs because, like I was saying, they were very visually impressive. In his debut on November 10th, he really made an eye-catching late move through the stretch to only lose by a neck to today's rival Family Biz. And then last time out, he dived down towards the rail at the 8th pole and was just finishing like he was in a different different race from the rest of the horses. I mean, he was really finishing well through the last eighth of a mile that day, running his final eighth in about 12 seconds flat. So I think High Call has real ability. The question for me is he going to continue getting better as they stretch out in distance? I know Kieran McLaughlin has talked about him as a potential Derby prospect. I'm a little skeptical of that because, after all, he has a half-brother to Koffel, who was a winner of the Grade 1 Vosburg. That's really more sprint pedigree on the dam side, so he should be fine with today's 7 furlong distance. I just wonder if they're using this race as a prep race, if they're going to, try to play with his running style a little bit, or, just kind of sit at the back of the pack and hope to get a piece of this, not really be that focused on winning the race. I'm not sure. We'll see what we get from High Call, but at a relatively short price, I'm trying to beat him. I actually prefer Teak Van Vloed, who's drawn just to his outside and should be another short price in this race. I was really impressed with his maiden win last time. That seemed like a pretty tough field on paper. It's hard for first-time starters to win going 7 furlongs on their debuts, and I thought he was very game to do it. The time came back pretty fast. We actually gave it a gigantic Timeform US speed figure of 1:13. That makes him way the horse to beat in this race. The question for him is, can he repeat that effort stepping up against Stakes Company? If you look at Steve Asmussen's overall record in New York, he just doesn't have the strongest numbers with horses coming off debut wins, especially stepping up into Stakes Company. A lot of those did occur at Saratoga, but I think it's worth being aware of the fact that this barn doesn't often win next time out after they win their debuts. But I'm impressed by Teak Van Vloed. I really liked his physical makeup, or what I saw of him in his debut. He's just a really big horse. He's a half-brother to Tahitian Warrior, who is also a very precocious runner. He won his debut impressively at Gulfstream about 8 or 9 years ago. So I think this horse has a ton of ability. I'm definitely using him strongly. But I want to take a shot with a horse to his outside, actually on the far outside, the number 7 horse Gates of Dawn, who's cutting back in distance after trying a mile in the Jerome last time. Going back and watching his Jerome, I really liked his effort that day. I thought it was the best race he's run so far, whereas a horse like Family Biz, who actually edged him out for third, was just sitting on the rail for the entire race, getting a pretty good trip inside, saving ground. Gates of Dawn was in the 4 path around the far turn. He really had to work hardest of all to stay with the early leaders that day, and it looked like he was going to finish third until about the 8th pole when he couldn't quite get the distance. But I thought he was against the grain of the race that day, and he ran quite well. We saw Our Brain Trust, the second place finisher in that race, come back to run extremely well in the Withers last week, so I think that validates the form of that race and the speed figure that race received. So I like Gates of Dawn's overall ability. I think he's moving in the right direction, and I think the turn back to 7 furlongs is going to be perfect for him. John Service has excellent numbers turning horses back, and this horse is not going to be one of the favorites because he doesn't have that flashy last out win like High Call or Teak Van Vloed. So I'm betting Gates of Dawn, hoping to get around 4 or 5 to 1 on him, and I think we will, and I'm using it with the 2 aforementioned favorites. So that's a look at the Jimmy Winkfield on Saturday at Aqueduct. Now let's send it back to the studio.
Time for our best bet segment here on Out of the Gate. Matt, you've got something to Gulfstream.
A little bit of a different look at the best bet here this week. The 7th race at Gulfstream on Saturday kicks off the Rainbow Six. The Rainbow's being forced out on Saturday. So maybe this isn't a very likely win contender. Maybe a horse that you want to throw on your ticket. The number 12, Captain Cholo. We're going to go back to his career debut. This was just, about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. He's the number 4 horse. Breaks a little bit on the sluggish side. Needs to be pushed along. He's going to go up and eventually take up a pretty decent spot before, let's call a spade, floundering. He didn't do very well after that. But I think you got a couple things going here. This horse goes out for David Fox. Fox's numbers, second time out of the box, are usually pretty good. This was a day at Gulfstream Park where you needed to be on the lead. It's very difficult to make up any real ground. The 3 horse is going to put in a mild bid, but the 1 horse ultimately just flicked him away and goes on and wins by nearly 5 lengths. And Captain Cholo, the other thing to keep in mind that I just find a little bit intriguing, Brethren is his sire. He was only about 6% with the first-time starters. Makes me think that this one should improve second start out. And I find it a little bit intriguing at 15 to 1 that Arad Ortiz picks up the mount here for his second time start. Again, not suggesting he's a very likely winner, but if you're playing the Rainbow, maybe you want to throw him in at 15 to 1.
Mike, you've got something on the Sam F. Davis undercard at Tampa Bay Downs.
Yeah, race 8's the Tampa Bay Stakes, mile and a 16th on the grass, grade 3. It's a pretty good field. This is actually maybe more like a grade 2 kind of race. There are good horses in here. It's just a race where, I don't like the favorites that much, and I want to take a shot with Inspector Lindley. We'll put up a replay of his last win. This is at Saratoga over the summer. A pretty soft turf course. You see him kicking up some pretty good clods. He came from last. He came down the outside. He gets up at the end with a nice game finish here. This is a pretty good horse. He won this race 2 years ago, the only time he ever ran at Tampa, a career best Beyer speed figure, and it's sort of a similar situation where he's got an inside draw here. He can get a little bit more forward early, save some ground, and then if he can come with his best finish like he did this day at Saratoga, I think this is a field that he can beat, and he should be a square price in this race.
I'll go to Aqueduct, race number 5. Number 4, Shimmering Moon. This is a horse that missed most of the fall and then returned off a trainer switch to Linda Rice. She has raced 3 times for Linda, and her Beyer speed figure has improved slightly with each and every start. I think that she is racing herself back into shape. Her most recent race we're going to take a look at right now. She's down on the inside, and she was battling for the lead with several other horses early, and this was a race where the pace kind of collapsed. The winner is going to be the favorite, Big Birthday, who is the likely winner on paper and the best horse on the track, but Shimmering Moon hangs in there all the way down till deep stretch before faltering and finishing 4th. I think that this pace was a little bit faster than it appeared to be on paper. Shimmering Moon in this spot meets a short field. There are some other speeds. I don't think, though, there's going to be a hot duel. I want to give Shimmering Moon one more chance at Aqueduct. That's race number 5, number 4 for trainer Linda Rice. We thank you so much for watching Out of the Gate this week, and we urge you to follow all of DRF TV's video offerings on Twitter. Follow at DRF Video, and for the latest news and notes from America's Turf Authority Daily Racing Forum, follow on Twitter at DRF Inside Post. That's it for this week. Best of luck when your horses break out of the gate.